waves, Ninja blenders, juices, and toasters. Check also for your laundry detergent and fabric softeners, Victoria's Secret and Bath and Beyond creams and splashes. We carry pots, frying pans, dinner plates, teacups, and so much more. Shop early at Paramedics this Christmas to avoid the rush. The management and staff thank you for your support throughout 2025 and wish you a bright and prosperous 2026. Call us at 451-2763 or WhatsApp us at 531-9119.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And it's time right now, SVG. It is 8:19, and it's time for us to bring to you another commentary segment here on our Activated Mornings program. And we are joined, as per usual, given that today's a Monday morning, by Dr. Gerald Thompson. Doc, morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning, Maka.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Nicole. It's always a pleasure. Monday morning, interesting discussion. With life there, and I don't want to take up too much time, but for me, I've always felt that roads, I wish they could last an everlasting time and never need to get fixed. But even then, at some stage, they need to get fixed. Same thing like runways, whether or not you identify that a problem is going to occur, you're going to have to potentially close that airport for a period of time to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to fix it beforehand, before any hole or splinters develop. But irrespective, you're going to have a period of time that you're going to have to fix it. And the issue is, how quickly can they fix it?
Somebody was saying that why they don't fix it in the night when the airport is closed?
Well, I think it's setting. How long does it take for the whatever it is they put down to set to actually be ridden over by a plane?
All those things. We could ask the same questions. Why don't we fix our road late at night? You understand? And essentially, they do that sometimes in the States and other countries, but it costs maybe twice, 3 times as much. You got to have super lighting. You got to have, double time and so forth. Maybe it's worth it to do it that way, But in terms of fixing it, you really and truly may have to fix it during the day. And I'm bringing the point that irrespective of whether you see a crack and boy, another 2 weeks time, this thing, you're going to have to dig that up, and you're going to have to then fix it, allow it to set, and then basically allow the thing. Because if you notice I've seen where they pitch some roads and they allow cars to go across, and then you see in the tire tracks. So you could imagine if one of those heavy planes lands on the area. Because when that plane is coming, I've come in on some planes and there's such smooth landings. And I've come in on some planes and I have felt as somebody say, you hit a pothole as a joke. You understand? It goes bad out, and it's because, as the plane comes down, that last few inches, and so it can come down very hard. And hopefully the tires don't burst. But there's a lot of weight that is coming down on one small section of road, of pitch. And that essentially you are going to have, and that's why they have to test these things to make sure they could stand a certain amount of weight and all this other stuff. So I just want to be that irrespective, you're gonna have to close it down. And this is not new for all the different runways that they have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in Kanawha, in this, that, and so forth. They basically know how to fix these things quickly. It's a temporary process. It's not a situation that Christmas is postponed. You understand? It's not a situation that you have to shut down Christmas because it's going to take 3 weeks to fix it. It's not that at all, from what I understand.
Okay. All right. So to the person there, Mr. Aviation Expert, you can call during the talk to us, right? I see the message coming there, but you can call during the talk to us. All right. Let's just try to get into this other topic. No, okay. All right, so we are going to talk on the topic MP Shallow, Member of Parliament, Kishore Shallow, to serve out his CWI president term. And we're asking the question, can he be truly effective in both roles? All right, so let's hear from MP Minister Shallow himself in terms of, his statement. And this can actually be found on Cricket West Indies social media pages. But this is a synopsis or just an excerpt from that message that he delivered.
And so I know that some of you may be concerned about my recent appointment to cabinet and what it may mean for my continued service as president of Cricket West Indies. Let me be upfront and transparent with you, as I've always been. Admittedly, I have thought long and hard about this. My conviction is that the work ahead requires steady leadership and a commitment to completing the reforms already set in motion. It is for this reason that I will conclude my current term, but with the intention not to seek re-election. It is true that my appointment as a minister, while simultaneously serving as president of Cricket West Indies, may seem slightly uncommon in our region, even though it has happened in other sports before. However, it is not unusual within the global cricket community, where several of my colleagues at the International Cricket Council currently serve or have served as ministers or members of parliament. We have therefore conducted comprehensive due diligence to ensure all legal and ethical standards are fully met. While there is no conflict of interest, the legitimate question is whether I can effectively manage both portfolios. Having consulted widely with our board and leadership, I can assure you that I can and will. It is important to note over the years, government in our region have been calling for a greater level of engagement with Cricket West Indies. It is fair to say that this very well may be an avenue for collaboration and involvement without being invasive.
All right, so that was Dr. Kishore Shallow, president of CWI Cricket West Indies, and who is also a current member of parliament here in SVG. Before he was the MP here in SVG, he was president of Cricket West Indies. And this was a question that was floating around, and now we have heard his response. We're asking the question, can he be truly effective in both roles as president of Cricket West Indies and as a current member of parliament here in SVG? All right, so some more information, if you want to read some more information on that, you can go to, there is, several news sites did articles on this, one of them being Eyewitness News, where he goes on and he says certain things. One of them in terms of talking about the role itself. All right, so in talking about the roles itself, but some of the commentary that I'm going to make is going to be based on what is contained in the Eyewitness article, right? But let me just hear from Doc and Maka first. What are your thoughts in relation to him saying that he is going to stay on, and your thoughts on whether or not he would be effective in both roles?
Why? Wow.
Well,
he basically said, he's gonna do the both of them. So I don't know.
But do you think he can be effective in both roles?
Traveling might be a factor. If you have to do traveling for tourism and do traveling for CWI, that could be a little problem. But all in all, he said he will take up the two job until his term end at the CWI.
Okay. All right, Doc, I see itching to come in.
No, I wasn't itching. As a matter of fact, I gave Maka away. Yes, and these are not subjects I really like to talk about. And so, no, I'm not itching to comment on this at all.
Okay.
Far from it. This is a complex subject. And it talks about commitment to two fundamental causes in terms of national service as well as regional service. And if the premise is that what you're serving are challenges in itself, as we talks of cricket reforms and West Indies having not done so well, recently they did win a game. But the issue, I think, is that there's going to be some growing calls for him to step down. Now, I believe somebody in this position should be allowed some transition. But the question is, how long? How long do this?
Transition.
At first, a transition period. In other words, you don't resign necessarily on day one. Yes, and you win,
okay.
and so therefore
No,
you resign. No, let me finish this.
No, I needed clarity.
I know, I'm going to give clarity.
Okay.
Now, as I heard the thing for the first time, I heard that he was going to serve out the rest of his term. And I'm not sure really how long the term is, whether it's a year, whether it's 2 years, as the case may be. And somebody could correct that. So I don't really know.
I think it's 2 years.
Yes. So some persons will feel that is probably too long. You understand? And that I believe someone should have a transition. If it was 6 months, if it was a period to hand over. I don't know who is the vice president and whether that person was just a sidekick or whether that person could rise to the fore. And what is the processes by which a new president would then be elected if it is just that the vice president moves up. I'm not really sure of those transactions and so. I believe, though, that West Indies, at its current state, there are people who are questioning the reforms and the various issues that are taking place, whether it's enough and that there's a need for a new direction, and that what has been taking place for the last term and a half, so to speak, have not been right. As a matter of fact, West Indies have been sliding downwards. So in terms of changing that directory, there may be calls even before he was elected, and maybe even if he was not elected, and if he was even elected but the NDP lost and so forth, there may have continued to have been calls, in terms of some changes and so forth, because there were calls prior to this for some changes. I want to say, I don't know, and it's not for me to raise that there was somebody who put out in terms of what the salary be like. I don't really believe that, in terms of that size of salary. And so
why?
I'm not sure, because I think that those were issues that canvassed in our election about engineers who getting $40,000 and so forth, that was too high. There are people who question other public servants and so forth, with respect to other type of salaries and so. But let me say that clearly the salary of an elected politician is in savings is not exceptionally high. And just, the call from St. Clair Leacock to raise those particular parliamentary salaries. But I also think that it would be advantageous if you are receiving a high salary to be able to get both, the long and short of it also, so besides those moral issues, the long and short of whether somebody can handle both things, two big challenging things in terms of tourism, as well as in terms of West Indies cricket revival, I think those are big issues. And maybe it may be a challenge for one person. If it was a big challenge just doing West Indies cricket alone, adding tourism to that, a major ministry. If it was a minor ministry, one thing. But if it was a major ministry like tourism, then I think that the question is going to continue. I favor a transition, but I know that the calls will continue from national quarters nationally and probably from quarters regionally.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have a fixed position on it.
I don't really have a fixed position on it.
Okay.
But you asked me my opinion. I wasn't baiting with bated breath to get in on this. Maka, I allow you to go forward and so forth. I want to correct that because people hear those things, these are things that they're not my real cup of tea, but comment on them I must. And that's my commentary. That's my comment.
Okay, fair enough. I need to ask you though before I give mine. You being a former minister with a portfolio, as a minister, how much work actually falls on you? The reason for asking the question is that you meet as a cabinet, right? Under the administration, you will come up with certain policies that you want to have effected as under that administration. But as the minister itself, how much work is actually on you?
Previously, during the time of Parnell Campbell, a special carve-out was given to lawyers that they would get some additional stipend in lieu of private practice, or they can. You know what I mean? And I stand corrected. When I was a medical doctor, I had a medical practice. And I continued to run my medical practice for about 3 months. Within the first 3 months, I happened to have needed to travel to Rome. And there was a patient who was very sick. And the patient said, "Doc, I am not going." My staff referred the patient to the casualty and to another doctor. They said, "No, I'm going to wait until you come back because you're the only person I can see and I will depend on." And that person waited. I must tell you, that person got very sick in waiting. And I decided I was going to close down my formal medical practice. Now, instead, every Tuesday, I went down to Chateaubriand and every other Tuesday, I went down to Chateaubriand and I ran a free medical clinic in the constituency. My previous medical practice was in Kingston, at my office in Kingston, Montreal. I felt it was important that I could have handled both, but I felt that if I'm in cabinet and a patient calls me, if I'm in parliament and somebody calls me, I can't leave the parliament to say, "Russian, I'll go see a patient." And I think that it's not the same, but these things will come up. You have cabinet on a Wednesday, you have parliament on another day, once a month, twice a month. And essentially, there may be some issues or so that come up. The ability to travel, jump on a plane, go to Antigua, then go over to St. Kitts, or go reach Miami, or whatever the case might be, you're not going to necessarily be able to. Or you're traveling on a tourism thing to Saudi Arabia or so, and then something comes up that needs your attention. It's true, technology allows you to do things online, but I think that it is going to be a big challenge. And a transitionary period is okay, but if it is 2 years, that may seem a little too long.
All right. No, so my question was actually in relation to you being the minister, right? In that there are PSs, there are other civil servants who are in charge of the various departments, etc., under a particular ministry. So when it comes to the minister itself,
if you're running the same policy as the previous government, people understand. However, if you're doing something different, there may be a need for you to be present to guide policy. The civil service administratively basically aren't dealing with policy. They are implementing policy. You're devising policy. If you feel that the ministers of tourism are usually quite hands-on too. They're visible, they're present, they have to be here, they have to visit different things, meet different people. It is I think, tough, as a major ministry. And the ministry is no longer tourism and culture, but it has taken on marine technology, which is going to be the blue economy, so to speak.
Maritime
But
affairs.
strangely enough, it's not fisheries and so forth, so maritime. I thought there was going to be a ministry of the blue economy. But
I think that is under Conroy Huggins, if I'm not mistaken.
well, I'm not sure in terms of marine things. The blue economy is also tourism. Tourism on the beach and recreation, that's also blue economy. So I look at blue economy maybe split between fisheries and other aspects of the blue economy.
Okay.
But in general, I know what you're gearing at. It is a bit of a challenge, and even with good permanent secretaries and staffing and so forth, it's not that easy. And I think that a transition will be right. This is something that he should review within a particular period of time, because I think there'll be calls, not necessarily from a national point of view, but from a regional point of view, if West Indies continues to lose, if the reforms are not working, if things need to, the tweaking.
The same commentary that was made before he even became elected MP for him to be removed. There were calls for that before.
I think there may have been calls before.
Yes.
So that people from the big islands, even from small islands, from ex-players, from Lara, from Roberts, from this, that, you may see these sort of things coming through, and whether they're taken on board, and whether there is a way of doing this in an easy way, may be of benefit to board.
Okay.
However, I just want to say, and I don't know what factor the salary plays into it, but
salary will play a factor, Doc. We can't downscale that at all.
It may not play a big factor in good. I think given credit to Mr. Shallow, it's probably one of morality versus him feeling he can take on these challenges and he's up to those challenges.
Okay. All right, so let me just give a few thoughts that I have, my commentary with regard to this, right? I suppose I find myself also being in a position where I am not on a particular side on this matter, which is the reason why I asked Doc the question of, when you are a minister, given that you are able to delegate, you have different ministries under you or different departments under you, a lot of the work doesn't necessarily have to fall on the minister, him or herself, right? However, and I'm also not in favor of knocking anybody who has the ability to engage in more than one things at the same time, right? Engage in more than one jobs, etc. at the same time. So this is why it's a little bit of a challenge for me to speak on this. However, let me just give a few thoughts that I had in mind. As Doc indicated, the Ministry of Tourism is one of our economic pillars, and it is on an upward climb. And given that Minister Shallow being a first-time member of Parliament and first-time holding this portfolio, him not necessarily being there to devote a lot of his time and a lot of his efforts is something that I have a bit of a concern about. Another thing that I noted is from the Eyewitness article that he spoke of the presidency almost as if it was not going to be a fully engaging type of job. He sort of downplayed the work or the workload of it, right? And the direct line that I'm reading from the Eyewitness article is, he said, in fact, there are many executive officers across the Caribbean who serve on boards as chairs or directors. This is no different. He said, adding that there's a misconception that CWI presidency is an executive position and a full-time job. So when you say something like that, or when it's said something like that, it almost seems as if the workload for CWI isn't going to be a heavy one, right? So I am a little bit concerned about that, knowing that it probably is, and can he actually do both jobs effectively? Another concern is that he made mention of other members who have also been on the board who had political, involved in politics before. However, from the Jamaican Gleaner, an editorial from Jamaican Gleaner, the editor made mention of saying that it may be true that persons or people in politics have served on the board and committees of Cricket West Indies, but none have been president of CWI while in government. Indeed, Dr. Shallow's successor, Mr. Skerritt, was out of government for 4 years before he became president. Ken Gordon's brief stint in Trinidad and Tobago Senate and as a minister had ended before he assumed the top cricketing job, as has Julian Hunt's active political life in St. Lucia. All right. So while it is that he's making mention of other persons being in parliament or being politicians, etc., they were not current sitting presidents of CWI. So to make that connection was a little bit interesting there, right? Another concern that I have is that as a single human being who, for the most part, work is, or when it is that you have a team or persons working along with you, there's a set working hour or set working hours for the most part. And when it comes to you being actively involved, you being actively engaged, you interacting with persons who are who you've delegated responsibility to, can you, within the specified scope of hours, can you actually be there to be as hands-on, to be as interactive, to be there giving guidance, even you yourself receiving guidance, given that it's his first time in the ministry? Can he actually do that if he's occupying both roles, right? Another concern of mine is that we heard, and the NDP themselves, NDP candidates in the past also spoke about the fact that many persons under the ULP's administration, they're elected into office and persons are not seeing them in their constituency, right? The constituents are not seeing them because of the fact that maybe they had these ministries, maybe they had these portfolios, they were otherwise engaged. And the NDP, in their campaign, they made mention of this particular point. And part of me also is wondering if he is continuing the role of CWI president, and if he is also Minister of Tourism, given that there will be different travels, etc., involved, is he actually going to be there on the ground for his constituents, the same persons who elected him into office? All right. So these are just a few of my concerns. We heard before in the past persons speaking of, well, there was one person in particular on the ULP side who persons always are commenting on about that minister never being in office. Every time you try to call that, the person is not there. And if the NDP administration is going to be an administration of change, do we want to then hear that the Minister of Tourism is not somebody who persons can get in contact with? The constituents are not able to get into contact with him, right? And as I made mention before, when it comes to the matter of dual citizenship, and I made the point of when somebody is running for office, certain sacrifices have to be made. And is this a sacrifice that maybe he needed to put his foot down, needed to cement, and to say that this is a sacrifice that I am going to make in terms of giving up the presidency because I am elected into office. The persons have elected me into office. I actually have a portfolio. Is this a sacrifice that he probably needed to make? No, albeit that this would not have been anything new in terms of this discussion. I highly, highly, highly doubted that this would have been a discussion that would have been had between him and Prime Minister Friday before elections, etc. So it would not come as anything new. But when it comes to persons assuming public office, especially given that you have voted into office, was this one of these sacrifices that he needed to make? All right. So as I said, I am not necessarily hard and fast because I know that for many Vincentians, they are pleased with the fact that a Vincentian is occupying this role as president of CWI. And part of me wonders if many persons are giving him a blight on account of him being a Vincentian and being in this post. But it is something that maybe I need to do a little bit of deeper thought in terms of being in an actual position. But those are just some concerns that I have with him occupying both roles. And as he stated in the Eyewitness article, if he finds that the workload is going to become too heavy, then he would resign as president. But I suppose it's a wait and see issue here. All right.
And somebody was asking about emergencies on both sides. That's the CWI and Tourism Authority. Which one is he going to be taking on?
Yeah. Which one would be take precedence for him? Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So any final thoughts from either of you?
Let's take a call. Let's see what it's supposed to gotta say. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Yeah, it's I think being a minister it's a more difficult job than a lot of people on the outside think it is. Because he's not just the Minister of Tourism for North Leeward, he's the Minister for the whole country. He had to go on meetings a lot outside. He have his own family business to take care of. So, yeah, I think he should resign. But I know Gerald Thompson's playing politics because if he did run for the ULP and win, and he decides to stay on, Gerald Thompson won't be coming on there and say he should step down.
But Gerald Thompson did not say he needed to step down.
But he questioned if he could handle that workload between doing both.
Yeah, he didn't have to come out and say he wanted him to step down, but you could know based on what Gerald Thompson said, we all have a brain, you know. No, but I didn't get that. I think Doc is also on the fence.
You don't get that, yeah, because you don't want to get it.
Queens, it's based on what Doc said this morning. Are you trying to make your own inference?
Yes, I'm making my inference that.
And is your inference based on fact, based on what Doc said this morning?
Based on what he said, I know he want to join the chorus and say he should step down. And I agree with him, he should step down. But I know Doc is playing politics because of this side.
Yeah, well, you know,
we all know that. Let's pretend.
Put this way, Queens.
But let me say this.
On that subject, before you say this, let me tell you something. I think the vast majority of people in St. Vincent think that Gerald Thompson has some level of integrity. I speak some integrity. I speak my truth. You could laugh.
You speak what truth?
I speak my truth very quietly, very clearly. I don't have to banter. Everybody knows I say what I want to say. Now let me say.
No. You say
put this way. No, you've always said that when I speak, it's Ralph who's writing me a script. And
I didn't say that.
You said so many times. You said so many times. You don't remember. You jump from one thing to the other. But let me say something. I know Keisha Shallow very well. After his degree, I gave him his first job in my ministry, to the public service. And we've always stayed very good. His mother was a very, very close friend, and I believe a supporter of mine. You understand? Let me say that I don't wish Keisha well. He is the representative. I go back to Roleza. Roleza say, I'm quite eager to get into this question. Maka will be proof. I said, Maka, you go first. These are subjects that I know are very difficult and complex, but when asked, I have to say things in my way. I do believe that you don't just resign straight away. Even with conflicts and so forth, I imagine there's lots of things that are hanging over with the thing. And that, Roleza would have really pointed out that the call for him to resign would have come before his election, largely because of the state of West Indies cricket, not because of Gerald Thompson or because of the ULP or anything of that nature. But my view is that I think in due course, he will have to do the right thing. He has said if the challenges arise, and I know they will arise, whether emergency or a mountain of challenges, these things will arise because of a lot of what he said. The representatives of North Leeward are very demanding. Constituents. You are a representative first, but you're also a minister. And that could be of any ministry, but having a big ministry like that of tourism, it's going to be also demanding. Some people have written, it goes hand in hand with West Indies cricket. parts of it do, but it's also very divergent. Regionally, nationally, two different type of things. When you're speaking from a national point of view, I want this for St. Vincent, as opposed to I want this for the region, regional cricket and so forth. There are going to be some conflicts, and I expect that different people, like this gentleman who called in there just a minute ago, you know,
He's still on the line.
he's still online, who's saying that he wants him to resign. He wants him to resign.
Going on too long.
They're going to be, no, I could go on long, you know, because I'm responding to you. A lot
Yeah,
of
so
other
that-
people,
so that
a lot
don't
of
get
other
to
people
talk.
are going to call for resign. I haven't necessarily done so, but if this queen says that I secretly and I'm playing politics with that, I've said something that a lot of people could identify with, and they might say, Dr. Thompson, I think I agree with you. You know, I might disagree with you, but don't cast this, you know, aspersion that I am lying. I have a different opinion and so from what I've said, because my opinion is quite reasonable.
All right, Queens.
Yeah, so the North Leeward constituency, they are similar to the constituency in the people of St. Lucia. They don't give you 20, 25 days, 30 years.
Mm.
They may give you 1 term or 2 term and kick you out. So if he can't be in the constituency because, as what people was complaining about the previous government,
as a matter of fact,
where they hardly see them, they just kick him out after 1 term.
Well,
Okay.
you're right about that.
Anyway, let me go. You long, Glenville Williams, long, good from you. Make your answer as long as possible so you can have a follow-up question. Have a good day. Bye.
But I thought he had a follow-up. You know what I mean? I thought you had a follow-up. But the point is that in North Leeward, most representatives basically have not been able to do more than 2 terms. Only one in the program yesterday, Joel Providence brought it out that Alpian Allen was the only one who ever did 3 terms. In many other constituencies, people have done multiple terms. You know what I mean? But usually you don't go, you have 1 term, but many only have 2 terms.
Okay.
You know?
All righty. So what we will do, because we've been in this segment for a bit, let's head on out, and then we'll be back at 9:20 for. Yeah, I know you wanted to give your commentary. We could probably do it in 9:20.
Let me 9:20.
9:20.
We've exhausted it all, eh?
Yes. Yeah. All right. So
I wanted just to say something short and so forth, if I could, in my commentary, you know, and it goes on from yesterday, and I'll be short and go straight to the point. Yesterday in Isudahan, they were talking a lot about North Leeward and North Windward, and the importance these 2 roads play, but the fact that they've been underdeveloped and that they haven't really developed at the same pace as the rest of St. Vincent. I could say more on that, but the time doesn't permit me as I wanted in my commentary. But this Christmas, the Thompson family is going to be celebrating the life of Edward Thompson and Elizabeth Michael. Elizabeth Michael, who hailed from Fancy, and Edward Thompson from Chateaubelair, who were married in, and the Michaels, you know, have emerged together, you know. Last weekend, I went out to Fancy and Oya to meet with some of the Michaels. But from Christmas, 23rd of December to the 31st, over 200 Thompsons from around the world are going to be having a reunion and celebrating.
200.
Over 200. But let me say that I was able to go back further than that, because Edward Thompson's father was John Thompson, and his father was a gentleman named Waterman Thompson. And I was left a document from 1799 that showed that Waterman Thompson was a slave on the Wallaroo estate and that he was in charge of water control and so forth. Now, my commentary would have gone in a lot deeper. And even though the celebration is from the union of Edward Thompson and Elizabeth Michael, persons from North Windward, persons from North Leeward, and the progeny, the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, and the nurses and teachers that have emerged from this area. I really relish the fact that we've been able to go back much further and dive into history. And I want to really use as an inspiration to encourage persons to go back in time if they can and find out a little bit more about their ancestry and where they came from, who they were, and what they did. And also to make sure that their children and their grandkids, really, my 4 kids are going to be down here with their children, my grandchildren and so forth. And I'm going to be the happiest man in the world over the Christmas period as we celebrate along with the other Thompsons, Michaels, and so the thing. I would have liked to have gone into much deeper issues in my commentary, a little bit more. And sorry, Roleza, for taking up the time. But it's important to say this because, in the upcoming segment 920, I'm sure we can't deny people their calls. I thought I'll squeeze it in now.
Okay.
So, Doc, is a big reunion?
It's not a big reunion. It's a nice reunion. It's an inspiring. It's a heart reunion. I mean, it's blood reunion. And so I want to thank all the Thompsons from the UK, from Canada, from United States, from across the Caribbean, and of course here in St. Vincent and Trinidad and so forth, who are gonna be here, and for those who are gonna home in with some online things, I'm gonna welcome you to St. Vincent, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun.
And are all Thompsons and SVG related? Almost all. Okay.
It's all. There's some links we have not been able to.
Okay.
Roleza, wait. You want to tell me you're related to the Thompsons?
No, I'm not. No, I'm
the
not.
Thompsons and the Matthews related?
There are a few Matthews who are Thompsons.
He just wants a reason to show up, eh? So even if it's just quarter relations, he will be there. Or 1/8 relations, he will be there.
No, there's a lot of Matthews from North Leeward.
I know a lot of Matthews.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I just wanted to know if there's any connection.
There are some Matthews that have paired with some Thompsons, but they're not really.
So you could go.
So some Matthews are really to the Thompsons, but in terms of the line is predominantly Michaels and the Thompsons.
Oh, it's Michael and the Thompson.
All right, so with that, we're heading on out of this segment. Time for an SVG, it is 9:01. And let's head into today's ECCB currency exchange rates.
Nothing else sounds as good as WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.